Hey everyone, this is your host Sonia, and welcome to my very first podcast episode of Sonia's Space. I've created this friendly space to inspire and encourage my listeners throughout their day. On this podcast series, I want to talk about life, relationships, mental health, women empowerment, hardships, and new experiences. My goal is to have an authentic and vulnerable discussion with my listeners. I want to start off by saying thank you to everyone who's listening in to my first podcast episode. And I also wanted to say thank you to all of my friends, family members, and even strangers who had reached out to me to provide me feedback and support for my trailer episode. I am very grateful and appreciative of you all. I'm super excited to start this journey, and not only am I excited, I'm also nervous. Obviously, I've never done anything like this. And of course, my voice being out there in the public, it's something new to me. And honestly, I've been wanting to start a podcast series for the past few years. At the time, I feel like I didn't have the opportunity and even the courage to do something like this. I just knew it was going to take a lot of my time to understand the ins and outs of starting a podcast series, understanding the types of equipment I need, understanding the software applications and navigating through those software applications. I started this process 3 months ago, and it's been a lot. There's a huge learning curve with understanding how to edit audio clips and understanding how to use these software applications. It's uncharted territory for me. And even now, as I'm working on content for upcoming episodes, I'm always learning something new or learning ways on how to fix audio clip. It's been a lot, but baby steps. I feel like I have the gist of it down, but of course, there's way more to learn from this. For my first episode, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself and get to have you know me a little bit better and understand why I was inspired to start Sonia Space and what to expect moving forward with my podcast series. So let's get right into it. My name is Sonia Siddiq Garrett. I am a 32-year-old Pakistani American living in Austin, Texas. I've been here for about 15 years now, and I absolutely love Austin. And before Austin, I pretty much grew up in Chicago. I was born in Karachi, Pakistan, but I was a little over a year old when I moved to the States. And then I grew up in Chicago, where I did elementary school, middle school, and a little bit of high school, and then moved here to Austin. I also met my husband in Austin. We used to work together for a medical device company, and we both still do, but now we both work at different companies. We actually got married last year in May. Been married for a little over a year, and my God, it's crazy how time just flies. I think both him and I have been traveling so much this past year, and we didn't even realize how quickly time just flew by. Me and my husband, we enjoy traveling, especially to national parks and hiking at national parks and just traveling in general. And I think one of my ultimate goals in life is to travel all around the world. I think it's a great way to really open up your mind. And, I love that feeling of culture shock when you go to a foreign country or a city and just seeing the way that they live and they function and the food and the music. I think it really opens up your mind, and to know there's so much more out there, and it's such a great experience. And for those of you that love to travel, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Besides that, we do have 2 cats, Momo and Ingy. We're both huge animal lovers. We recently adopted Momo about 2 months ago from the shelter. She is a sweet little senior kitty, and she is so adorable. She's the best thing. And both of our cats are actually rescue cats. Our first cat, we found her randomly at a state park. She was a little kitten at the time. We have no idea how she ended up there. And we've had her for about 3 years now. One of the things that I do in my spare time is I truly enjoy listening to podcasts, specifically the self-improvement podcast where it's like inspirational and motivational. And that is one of the reasons why I started Sonia Space. I like that feeling of feeling inspired and motivated and, where I'm just listening to an episode and it sets the tone for the day. And even if I'm having a bad day, I'll just tune into podcast series that I like and it really uplifts me and puts me in a good mood. For me, these podcasts, it helps me to challenge myself and have a productive day. I wanted to spread that feeling of inspiration and motivation and create Sonia Space so we can have these discussions on self-worth, showing up as our authentic selves, and create this community where we can have discussions on everyday struggles. Another reason why I was inspired to start Sonia Space is, as a Pakistani American, I have noticed that there isn't much of a representation for South Asians in the podcast community, especially podcasts where controversial and sensitive topics are being discussed. Just to give you a brief overview of some of the topics that I will be going into are, for instance, the stigma around mental health. I feel like, especially in the South Asian community, there isn't much of openness and acceptability on talking about having an anxiety disorder, depressive disorder, and bringing that up to our family members and our friends. And it's just not acceptable. And many people in the South Asian community believe it to be not real, or people don't have the self-awareness to even consider therapy for themselves. I will also be talking about the stigma around divorce, especially for women in the South Asian community. Women are considered used goods. There's also this pressure on women to get married in their 20s and early 30s. And not only that, women are expected to leave their careers and set their careers aside to build a family and take care of their family. And it's really looked down upon if women are trying to build an independent lifestyle, a life of financial freedom over getting married. This also goes into being able to set boundaries with your family members and people who have set certain expectations of you. And I've seen this happen a lot in my community where I have seen women, not only women, but men as well, that are living the life of their families and they're not able to speak up for themselves and not living the true life that they want. And I feel like in our community, we struggle to set boundaries with our parents or speaking up to our parents because it's considered disrespectful and looked down upon if you say anything to your parents that goes against their wishes. Essentially, I want to have these real and raw conversations, and there's no holding back. I want to be able to talk about our experiences and talk about where these issues stem from and how we have learned to cope with these hardships through personal experience and shared experiences with family members and friends. I want the space to be a friendly space where we can easily talk about these tough discussions and sensitive topics. I want to be able to self-reflect, talk about self-love, and show up as our authentic selves. I now want to get into the structure of my podcast series. Initially, I am going to be recording solo podcasting episodes and releasing them every 2 weeks. And these will just be audio recordings. And then I will work my way up to video podcasting as soon as I feel more comfortable with the flow of recording and, of course, editing. And eventually bring in some guests so we can have roundtable discussions on some of these topics. As far as the content of my episodes, I will have a topic of discussion with subtopics and supporting points. And one of the segments that I want to incorporate in my episodes is talk about a new thing or a new experience that I've had. And it could be, for instance, a new class that I have tried, or a new healthcare routine, a skincare routine, a fitness routine. This is just a way to talk about challenging yourself and expanding your horizon and not limiting yourself. So for instance, everyone has taken a Pilates class except me, or everyone's talking about it. And what I did is I actually did sign up for a Pilates class, and I'm going to check it out and talk about it on my next episode. And maybe you've considered doing Pilates or have already done Pilates, and you can kind of get my viewpoint on how I feel about Pilates. I typically, as far as working out, I usually do weights, or I'm taking like an indoor cycling class, which I've been pretty consistent about for the past few months, and it's been great. And I've heard that Pilates is really good for toning, and I think maybe this is something that I can also include to my fitness routine. I will be concluding my episodes with a inspirational quote, a motivational quote, or a phrase that would be pertaining to the content of that episode. And for today's episode, I would like to end with this quote from Meister Eckhart. It's "Be willing to be a beginner every single morning." I truly believe in order to know your true self is trying different things and understanding what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And that way you can build a life that you want. And for instance, if it wasn't for me just taking this leap to start this podcast series, I wouldn't even be here. And I feel like it's going to be a beginning of a beautiful journey. And throughout this process, I feel like I'm already learning so much about myself as far as the patience it takes to edit these audio clips and understanding these software applications. There's just a lot that goes into it. And also basically the types of content that I want to talk about. I feel like it's a great way for me to also self-reflect and understand what actually matters to me and what I'm passionate about. And I hope that way, with my journey and my content, I'm able to inspire you to try something new and challenge yourself and expand your horizon and constantly be in the phase of finding yourself. Thank you all so much for listening in today. I am so grateful for all of the support and feedback I've been getting. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to Sonia Space on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and follow me on Instagram for sneak peeks on upcoming episodes as well as other inspirational content. Also, feel free to message me or comment on my posts if you have any questions or suggestions for a topic of discussion. I am totally open to hearing what you guys have to say. And like I said, if you have any suggestions, feel free to message me and I can add it to my list of topics to discuss. I hope your day goes by well and I've left you feeling inspired. I will be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.